Welcome, everyone, to the Whole Wellness Mama Summit, where we're unlocking the healthiest, joy filled mom in you using strategies from various wellness and parenting experts. I am Amy Nesbitt, and I am so thrilled to have Dr. Madiha Saeed, also known as Holistic Mom MD and Holistic Urdu MD, on social media to talk all things holistic health and secrets to raising leaders, because she is a practicing board certified family physician in the US, international speaker, and a global best-selling author of books that include The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease, as well as Adam's Healing Adventure Children's Health Book Series. Not only that, she's currently working on books 8 and 9 at the same time. She also serves as Director of Education for Documenting Hope and Know You as well as serving on multiple medical advisory boards for other well-known organizations. And it's also amazing for me to see her children participate in all of it, because she and her children speak internationally in the most prestigious holistic conferences, summits, TV, the normal ABC, NBC, CBS, all of it, radio, newspaper, they're everywhere. And her children host the Holistic Kids Show podcast with over 130 interviews, helping kids empower and educate other kids, which is so powerful. She, along with her kids and mother in law, make up three generations that educate all around the world with their energy and passion to ignite a healing revolution to save our future. Can you tell why I'm so inspired and excited? Welcome, Madiha.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so incredibly honored to be here. So
Oh,
incredibly honored. So
oh,
thank
I'm so excited. So, I shared a lot, but for those meeting you for the first time, can you share your quick story of how you kind of got on this journey and why you are here now?
Absolutely. Well, I had all the same bad habits that have led most of children and adults down that road to chronic disease. My mom migrated here from Pakistan, and she didn't have any family. And even though she was an amazing cook, for her, food was love, right? So, and my dad was a CPA, so my mom loved to coupon shop, and at that time, only things you can really get with coupons were the junky stuff, like the cereal. And I remember an entire basement full, like our basement closet was packed with every single cereal. Like we probably had hundreds and hundreds of cereals down there, and every day we would go downstairs and choose a different one. We're like, oh, we're diversifying our meals. So, but so this is how I grew up. Took Kansas soda to school every day. And, you know, I mean, there were some signs like my hair started falling out. I had severe eczema, severe constipation. But again, at these time, like most of this was like, you're normal. This is just your new normal. And I continued on that hamster wheel, thinking that was my new normal until residency. Me and my husband were both interns in family medicine, both working 80-hour work weeks. I was a new mom, a new wife, a new resident, all at the same time. And so I was literally just trying to keep my head above water, right? Like most of us moms are, but like literally, like I was like, because we're both working 80-hour work weeks, like we're like shifting off kid, like we're just passing kid off to another, trying to figure out like when you're gonna go, round and the other one's gonna round. Like, so it was hectic. On top of that, I got free food at the cafeteria, so who needs to cook? I got, and then obviously when you're like stuck up on adrenaline and like all that stress hormones, and you're like, ooh, the sugar looks really good for you and it's free. And then, all the environmental toxins and all of the, stress and the chronic stress and the lack of sleep, especially from residency and then a newborn, my health really plummeted. And, but I continued on the hamster wheel you know, just so I can stay afloat,
Mhm.
right? Not quite question the status quo. And I realized, I mean, I have fatigue and lupus and Hashimoto's and severe digestive issues and acne and eczema and even shingles.
Mm.
And it wasn't until my husband, an afternoon conference, is like, can you go check up on our 10-month-old in daycare, please? I have a gut inclination that something's wrong. And I was like, we're like sort of newly married. We're like, less than a year in. We had a baby, but less than a year in. And I was like, you're fine. Moms get the gut inclination, not dads. But I was like, I'll appease keep him like, I was like, okay, let me go check up. I walked into every mother's worst nightmare. The lights were dim. The daycare provider was rocking back and forth in their chair. The eerie silence was broken by my child's in the back. When I went back there, I saw that my firstborn child, my gift from the universe, from God, was strapped down in a bouncy seat. Arms and legs were tied down with a receiving blanket. Pacifier was in his mouth. His Winnie the Pooh blanket, this green Winnie the Pooh blanket, was wrapped so tightly around his face. His eyes were bloodshot. His face was swollen. His cheeks were glistening with the tears. I immediately picked him up and I ran out. I'm like, you could have killed my child. On that day, I made this promise to God, promise to myself that, you know what, I'm going to take care of these kids the best that I know how. But then I had to take a step back and I said, you know what? That's weird. How am I supposed to take care of these kids the best that I know how if I myself am completely falling apart? And here, I'm a family physician. My husband's a family physician, but we have no idea how to take care of ourselves. No idea. And here, that was like a huge eye opening that I'm going to promise to take care of these kids, but I don't even know how to take care of myself. So that's when my journey started. Right out of residency, I joined this medical practice where under one roof, there was me, an OBGYN, an internist, an exercise physiologist, nutritionist, counseling, chiropractor, massage therapy, homeopathy, all under one roof for the complete healing of the whole person. And that I was like, what? What kind of voodoo is this? Like, this is amazing. Like, we're not just like compartmentalizing everything. We're actually looking at somebody as a whole person. And so that's when I was taught by the best of the best, with board certified physicians of multiple different specialties, and then also all of these holistic integrative modalities to help heal the whole person. And so when I started applying that to my patients and then to myself, it was miraculous. And um with severe digestive issues myself, where I could not, for an entire year, I could not even go to the bathroom without inserting a steroid suppository. And that was like the normal. I was like, no. So that's when I started to really implement this into myself and my own lives. And when I started researching and learning about it, I was also writing my book, The Holistic RX, because I felt like if I, as a family physician, had no idea where to start with seeing multiple, different conditions of all different specialties, of all different demographics and ages as a family physician, that's what we do, is where am I supposed to start with all these different patients? And myself, right? I had all these chronic health issues. I had no idea where to start. And so that's when I started writing the Holistic RX and started researching and learning more about this and how so I can help my patients. And then when I started doing that, I started integrating it with my family. Because I'm like, if I'm going to live this, if this is the way I believe that I should live, then this is the way that I believe that this is the way I'm going to raise my children. So I also started learning, because I was so passionate about raising these children to the best of my ability. I started learning so 15 years ago, I started educating myself about parenting, and I started researching and educating, and I used to teach my residents all this. And that's when I wrote the next book, The Holistic RX for Kids, Parenting Healthy Brains and Bodies in a Changing World. Because I realized because I saw the miracles that we think like unfold with my own children. And as I was starting to implement my understanding of holistic medicine and how I was going to eat healthy and live healthy, giving those tools to my kids, and then watching them do things that I was like, what? Are you sure? Like, pinch me. To the one so that's when I was like, oh my God, I need to let everybody else know this, because this is science. Like, I was just using the science to parent these children. And when their bodies work better, guess what? They make better decisions. When their lifestyles are balanced, when your lifestyles are balanced, our brains are balanced, our bodies are balanced, our decisions are balanced. So guess what? That makes my life easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that is where and then when the pandemic hit, I incorporated. So I was already incorporating this with the kids, but when the pandemic hit, now they're like, they're all home, right?
Oh,
And so
yeah.
we turned my mission into our mission.
Mhm.
So that's where they were like, Mom, we would really love to like do this podcast. And I said, sure, I got this network. I had already released all these books. So that when you do that, you have this network. And then it just became like the best parenting tool on the planet because of the fact that it's like 130 people telling your kids to do the same things you told them to do, but
Uh,
they're getting it from 130 different people.
yeah.
So therefore, they're using their own brains or their own logic, educating themselves from these experts.
Mhm.
And so then they're able to then use that in their own lives without me pestering them. Does that
Yes.
make it?
Oh, I
It's
love that.
just so it was like the best thing ever. So that's how that incorporated. And then obviously during the pandemic, also then my in-laws live with me. So I feed a family of 9 on a daily basis. And on the weekends, we have a traditional Pakistani household where they like to all come over on the weekends to my house because I'm the oldest daughter-in-law. So they like to come here and then I'm cooking for like 20 plus.
Oh, yeah.
So like so it's been fun, but the thing is we keep the same ethics and morals throughout. And I'm very blessed that my mother-in-law, then we started a channel Holistic Urdu MD to educate the Urdu audience.
Mhm.
So it has been mind-blowing and the impact has been tremendous in
Oh,
our lives and in others. So
so many things I want to unpack. So I'll take it step by step. The first one is, so you mentioned for yourself, you kind of had to start somewhere, right? So for our moms out there that are going, oh my gosh, that's me. They're resonating with your story of like, I'm just not taking care of myself the way that I want to. I want to start something for my family. Where can they start?
one, by educating ourselves, right? I think educating ourselves about what is actually going on. And this is something you're not going to get from your doctor, at least a traditional doctor. Um, that if you're dealing with, a rash, most of the time the doctors give you an anti-inflammatory, a steroid. If you're dealing with chronic pain, they give you an anti-inflammatory. If you're dealing with headaches, an anti-inflammatory. If you're dealing with allergies, an anti-inflammatory. What about an autoimmune condition? An anti-inflammatory. Cancer, an anti-inflammatory. So when we're giving, us as doctors are giving anti-inflammatories, we know that chronic inflammation is the one of the root drivers of these chronic diseases. So no matter what you're dealing with, depression, anxiety, thyroid issues, digestive issues, skin disorders, cancers, autism, if you're dealing with that with your children, digestive issues like constipation, diarrhea, sinus issues, chronic fatigue. One of the key underlining processes is chronic inflammation. And again, doctors know that's the key underlining mechanism. But guess what? Your doctor was never taught how to address the root cause of why the person is sick to begin with, that is leading to that imbalance. And so to really understand what is chronic inflammation, and then taking it from there. So chronic inflammation is it's like fire. So fire inside.
Mhm.
And it's your body's natural defense mechanisms and response to the body's immune system trying to keep the bad guys out and the good guys in to heal wounds or, any type of infection, all of that. So inflammation causes like redness, swelling, heat, pain. But we need inflammation because otherwise, if we didn't have inflammation, we would be in danger with really no way of fighting the microbial invaders or damage, whatever is inflicted upon us. Like we would be sitting ducks. So there's two different types of inflammation. There's an acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is that healthy inflammation. It's that lasts for a short time. It's a good sign that your body's defenses are all working properly. And then, but unfortunately, if that immune system gets stuck in the on position for too long, that can be too much of a good thing. And so what keeps it stuck in the on position? Like constant modern life's daily exposures to triggers like stress, toxins, the foods, toxic foods that we're eating, the allergens, low-grade infections, that all then destroys this miracle of a body. And this does take a little bit longer to kick in. So, but the thing is, and this is the key, with a properly functioning immune system, we're able to keep that fire under control. But with a constant, when we're like constantly bombarded in all directions, the inflammatory molecules like cytokines, they go out of control. They destroy everything in its path. They damage tissues and organs, leading to chronic diseases of every stripe. So chronic inflammation then leads to all of these conditions that we talked about. And but most importantly, it also messes up our brain function. Because chronic inflammation and our behavior and our decisions are very intimately connected. So studies have shown that inflammation was found to decrease the strength of the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. So when you have to make when you want to make a thought out right like thought out decision, you need two pieces to function appropriately. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for taking a look at the whole picture, figuring out, okay, weighing the risks versus the benefits and coming up with a logical decision. While the amygdala is a fight and flight type of response. And again, you need both of these pieces to make a logical, rational decision. But then chronic inflammation comes and it really decreases the connection. So it disconnects these two pieces. And when that happens, it actually leads to a more limbic system driven decisions, which is fight and flight, us versus you, unable to control your anger, unable to control your, emotions, inflammation in the brain. And so, in order for us moms to really start somewhere, I know whatever everything I just told you was completely overwhelming, but start with educating yourself, finding those resources to turn to, those experts to listen to, and to get that support system to help you with that, because this chronic inflammation really affects our overall health, right? Our physical health we talked about, but then also the decisions that we're making every day. So that is where definitely, and again, holistic medicine is mind, body, soul. And that is what we need to also do with our children. So to start to become more mindful of the world around us, our digestive health and detoxification, the 4S of stress, sleep, social, and spiritual health, the key components of a healthy lifestyle. And to recognize that, first to understand that, this is what is going on with me. Now, what am I going to do to help it? Because remember, we are mind, body, soul, and our children are mind, body, soul. So in order to nurture their mind, body, soul from the inside out, to give them the skills that they need for emotional intelligence, enduring deep friendships, making the correct decisions, managing stress, and being able to be resilient no matter what the world throws at them, you have to first role model this with yourself.
Yeah.
And that is where, like, if we expect them to, be clear and if we want to raise mindful children, because right now we're living in a world where these kids are stuck on their devices.
Mhm.
And most kids are actually eating food in front of the television or playing video games and, wasting their time and not really knowing what's going on in the world around them. We're really living mindless lives. But us as parents are also really doing the same thing. Because remember, in order to raise mindful children that are able to make logical decisions and take care of the body, take care of the planet, take care of their minds, we have to teach them to be mindful, allowing them to see their internal and external environment super clearly. And when we do that, when we teach it to them after we've taught it to ourselves, it's amazing, because the fact that then shows them how to like best respond
Mhm.
and be fully aware at multiple different levels of perception all at once. So if we truly want to raise mindful little baby kids who are mindful again of their bodies, their minds, their emotions, their social lives, their environments, learning how to keep it all in balance. And right when it starts to sway, they're able to recognize it before it even becomes a problem, increasing resilience in any situation. Like, how awesome would that be? Right? The
Amazing.
thing is that I know, right?
Yeah.
But you have to start that with yourself. And that is where to be mindful. So, one, educate yourself, and then to really be mindful of, again, all of these different aspects, the digestive health and detoxification, stress, sleep, social and spiritual health, and then have these conversations with our children.
Mhm. Yeah, that was another one I wanted to come back to where you said you set this um, desire or this purpose for your family, right? When you said we need to make these changes and this what we're going to do as a family. And I think that's so valuable because the points you made of we are modeling this for our kids. Our kids see everything that we do from a very young age and soak it all in.
They do. Because unfortunately, like, helping your child find a higher purpose will actually really help them succeed. It reduces the chances of their self-esteem that will fluctuate with likes on social media. And they've done studies where a lack of purpose has been linked to higher levels of stress hormones, more abdominal fat, and other negative health markers. So while the kids were younger, obviously, this is something that I was obsessed with or passionate about, but I incorporated, and because they're younger, like, we started making videos again with the pandemic hit. I started making videos with my oldest when he was, 6 years old, and the younger one was, so I was doing it a little bit with them, like, because kids, we know that, I mean, from social media, we know kids like, the videos and the actions, and, they like to be involved with their parents. And so to give them like a sense of purpose, and for me, it was to give them, especially in this world, to give them the confidence that they need to speak to other people
Mhm.
that may not agree with them. And that's why I was like, the best way I can start doing that is like, let's just start making these little videos, like just for public speaking. We're just gonna make itty bitty videos. Obviously at that time, my 13-year-old was 3. So I started slowly putting that in there because he was so smart. Like, we have to eat vegetable protein, healthy fats, and he was like, oh, so cute. Like, how would you not want that on video, right? Like, for me, it was like I was doing it for myself, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take this because the cuteness doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, but not that
It
cute.
changes, yeah.
Yeah, it changes. It changes. Well, now they're like scruffy with hair, but like before. So the so that's what I started doing, and giving them that confidence to speaking to other people, having them again, because whenever I learned it, I would incorporate into our lives.
Mhm,
And it wasn't just like, oh, I'm taking this out because it's bad. It was just like what I talked to the moms about too, right? It's like, where do I start? Education.
mhm.
So we would go to the store, and I would be like, as soon as my 6-year-old, like, he started to read it. And we would go to the store, and they're like, oh, we want this. Everybody has this. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Well, what's in it? Do you know what's in it?
Yeah, yeah,
You would flip over the ingredients and read it, and they're like, what's red number 40? And I was like, I don't know. Let's go home and like research it.
yeah.
And then he would read, like, we would show him how to research it, and then they came up with a conclusion themselves.
Mm,
And that is what you empower them. You give them the autonomy that they need to make those decisions. But the thing is, in order for them to make the right decisions, you also have to cultivate that that soil
yeah,
for not only yourself, but for the children.
yeah. Oh, I
Um,
love that because our kids also like to turn it around and read the
yeah,
label because so often I have said, okay, do you know what kind of stuff is in what you're eating? You should know and you should be able to pronounce the things that you are eating. And so many of the things, that are convenience things have a lot of stuff that I do not want to put in my body, but we do. And
no,
I love when they flip it around and they're like, oh, there's a lot more stuff than there is. But I haven't gone that extra step of having them research it themselves. So we've talked about certain things, but I love that idea.
yes, it is, and so much fun. And that's another big key piece that I have felt that I have done from the very beginning since I've learned, right? Obviously I'm not perfect. It's been a journey for me. It didn't happen
And that's a
overnight.
modeling thing too, right? Like,
Yes, it was. That's what I told him. And then every time I would be like, "Ooh, this is why Mama wasn't doing that," or "Ooh,
mhm,
and maybe what do you think we guys should do? Should we stop this? Should we not stop this?" But one key factor that I feel like we also again need to role model for our children to really help them be that ideal for themselves and for the planet is, and to raise these leaders, right?
mhm,
Is to not only be mindful of themselves and their surroundings and all their emotions on multiple different levels of perception all at once and give them the tools that they need to, as soon as it goes off of balance, we're able to give them that. But also to recognize that this is fun. Real food can be fun.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I think even for like the health world, we it's like, oh, we're gonna go out for, like, just a treat. It's okay to have it once in a while, like, oh, it's okay. It's like, it's a treat. Oh, it's fun. Okay, we're having fun. Let's go out for an ice cream. Oh, yay. Right. But then like changes in the child's brain that, oh, this bad food is fun food that we can have only once in a while. I want it all the time, like, because that's fun food. This is boring food.
Mhm,
Right? And so it's like, oh, I let my kids have, and I'm like, I understand that, but my biggest thing, what I have done in this house, I make fun food, healthy food,
mm,
it equal.
mhm,
So
mhm,
if we are going to go out and have, a cake or a
mhm,
cookie or restaurants, not finding the worst quality, because again, that equates that worst quality with fun food.
mhm, mhm.
Like, oh, we're going out for like dinner, but no, mom's not caring about the ingredients because we're celebrating, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so I have found the even the fun foods to be nutrient dense.
Mm,
So I have found all of the organic ice creams. I
mhm,
have found all of the places that are the organic restaurants that even fun food is still healthy food.
yeah.
So that is where I feel like there's not that push and tug, like, you're not fight I'm not fighting with them, because the fact that they're like, we want fun food, I'm like, yeah, where do you want to go? Like, we have all these options, like this place has the pizza, this place has the burgers, this place has the ice creams, this place has, they're like, oh, we love them all. I was like, okay, where are we gonna go? And it's not like, so, but the thing is, they're like, oh, mom's still worrying about the GMOs and making sure that there's natural foods, and we're still looking at ingredients, we're still calling them up, and we're still being confident, because our bodies are still temples, and to educate and to treat ourselves like that, right?
Mhm,
That our body is a temple. The biggest blessing that the universe, God has given us, is our health.
mhm,
And you can have all the wealth in the world. It doesn't matter if you don't have your health,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So to teach that, to really exemplify that and be role model that yourself, that even for fun food, I'm not trashing my body, right? Or if I'm sad or upset, I'm not grabbing the bucket of terrible ice cream. I'll grab the, like, ice cream that has three ingredients in it, right? Right? Like, so whatever it is, it's like, at least in no circumstance whatsoever. And to educate them that these are the reason why I'm doing that, is because they're chemicals, and and because they researched it themselves.
mhm,
They know what GMOs are. They know, I'm like, do you want to put that in your body when there's a healthier option? Like, so you have to, like, one, live this, role model this yourself. I have found all of the tricks to make it doable for yourself, even despite a crazy household. Because if with all the things that I'm doing, writing books, the kids are actually working on their book.
mm,
They have a traditional publishing contract, so they're working on their book. So with trying to manage all of that, and then the cooking and the cleaning and all of the things that comes with mommyhood, right? When we're wearing like 100 different hats at once,
uh-huh,
um, it really does start with self-care. The way that we're talking to ourselves, what we are doing to ourselves, because the kids see that,
mhm.
right? When mom's having a bad day, does she like run for food, or is she like, going and just doing some yoga and going for an extra walk?
Mhm.
When and those are the times where they're like, you think that they're not watching, but they're watching.
Mhm.
So, and it's like, oh, she really wants to celebrate. Ooh, where is she gonna go? Is she gonna go to like this favorite restaurant and not even know what oils that they use? Or is she gonna go to this organic place and enjoy that food?
Mhm.
So it's those, even those things that, like for Halloween even, are we
Mhm.
gonna eat that junk food or not?
Yeah.
Or are there alternatives? So there are, so those again, we equate like these holidays and stuff with unhealthy food still.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
got to equate that. But then role modeling that yourself, being mindful
Mhm.
of everything that you do, and then slowly start to educate your children, um, and give them the tools that they need. Because I'm telling you, it is probably the most powerful thing on the planet. When you watch I had my 10-year-old. I walked into him meditating, and I was like, what's going on here? And he was like, oh, and I let him finish. And then I was just like, and then later on, I asked him, oh, I'm like, oh, you did that? He goes, yeah, I've started feeling a little anxious inside. So I thought I would just, so before, do you see how before it even became a problem,
Mhm.
we've given them the tools that they need. Why? Because they're seeing it from us. Right? Like where they're seeing us do this on a regular basis. So therefore they're like, oh, just like mom gets up and she brushes her teeth because she's getting ready for the rest of the day, right? Or she's, prioritizing her exercise and her food. That's what we got to do. So role modeling this, and it really does start with us.
Yeah. And I love having these conversations too, right? Of like, if we eat some of these things that are not as good for our bodies, we see the
What
negative
can
effects
happen?
of that and realize that and go, oh, I don't want to feel that way. Or,
No,
and then how do we feel when we make the like better choices? Do we feel better? Do we think better? Do we act better?
absolutely. So remember educating them.
Yeah.
It's because if we try to force things down their throat,
Mhm.
they're going to want to rebel.
Yeah.
And um And so to like educate them, and say, what is, if like, for example, I mean, even the good stuff, my kids had gluten, right? And it was like, even though it was the organic gluten, they probably had a little bit too much one day when we went to Turkey, and they had a little bit of gluten there because it's like non-GMO. And then they're like, oh, no, am I fatigued? I'm more
Mhm.
tired today, mom. And I was like, I wonder why that could be. Or like my oldest, he got frustrated and agitated in the airport. And I was like, and he goes, I had the gluten. I was like, okay, I'll let you get
I
out.
love the
And we were
awareness.
like, the awareness. So being mindful and like not that these emotions are bad,
Mhm.
never to show that these emotions, these symptoms, what you're feeling is ever bad.
Mhm.
It's your body talking to you.
Mhm.
Right? What is your body telling you? Is that your normal? Is that like, do you like being like that? Or like, what is your body trying to tell you? Where are you off balance? And then the kids will immediately, like, if something's going, oh, I just didn't sleep. I have a headache today. I didn't sleep well last night. I'm gonna take an Epsom salt bath and go to sleep, mom. I'm like,
Yes. What a win. Uh-huh.
and then when my youngest was he was probably 5 years old. He was like, he actually comes down. He's eating a bowl of sauerkraut out of nowhere. I was like, I'm like, I'm always inquisitive. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, mama, I woke up this morning and I felt a little agitated. And I think it was because of the fact that, I mean, that's not my normal self to be agitated when I wake up. And I think it was the organic sugar that I had at Nana's house with the French fries that I had. Maybe it was too much sugar for me. So I'm eating the sauerkraut so it can help my gut bacteria and it can improve my mood. 5 years old!
That is so cute.
So that's the kinds of tools. So just like we're teaching our kids to brush our teeth,
Mhm.
just like we're telling them to wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. These are simple things that we can do, but first we have to start with ourselves and then educate and empower them with these tools and tricks.
I love the educate and empower. I'm all about it. We're raising future adults, right? And they need to be able to make their own good decisions. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And right now we have a mental health crisis, right? And it's getting scarier and scarier.
Mhm,
Um, with 15% of the United States children recently, like needing mental health treatment.
mhm,
So and with like suicide rates and self-harm,
mhm,
right? Since like 2009, there's been 190% increase of girls ages 10 to 14 cutting themselves and ending up in the hospital.
mhm.
So these are all decisions that these kids are making. And so, and we have to understand, like, why is that happening? Why are our kids suffering? And it's not a medication deficiency because studies have shown that we have used like there's been a 400% increase of antidepressants in America. Right? 400% increase. So either we can raise these children to lead or be led.
Mhm.
And again, we also then need to develop that understanding. So the best way that we can raise these leaders is, I'll just go through it one more time, role model it,
Mhm.
start them young, give them these leadership roles, right? If we don't expect them to do the dishes or make their own beds, how are we going to expect them to do anything like anything extra? We want them to be leaders, but they're not doing the basics,
Yeah.
right? And actually, that's another thing that I've started doing in my own house is that they all have chores.
Mhm.
So when they wake up in the morning, my now 13-year-old, but he's been doing it now for the last 5 years, but he makes all the lunches for all the kids, for all the brothers. Then my 8-year-old takes the dishes out of the dishwasher. My 10-year-old, now 11-year-old, puts the dishes away and cleans up and brooms or vacuums. And then whatever he needs to do, my 8-year-old will see if the laundry needs to be done, he'll fold them, and the other one will put it away. So they already like naturally know what they need to do. That's their job.
Mhm.
In the morning before we go to school, I believe that you can do this.
Yeah.
I have full power. You can have the capable, you can totally do this. So start them young. Give them for them that this is their leadership the role. These are small leadership roles that this is my responsibility and I will for this. I can totally do it. If not, like one or two times, it was like, oh, if not, then you know what? We're not going to go to school until these things are done. And some kids will be like, yay, but it didn't work. But for my kids, we're like, no, it's like they didn't want, like they really love their friends. But the thing is, or it's mostly it was like, if you can't get that done, then we can't do screen time because that's your job, right?
Mhm.
You have to work before you play. And then okay, so role model the behavior, educate and empower them, help them find their purpose, right? Find what they're good at to help them cultivate that.
Mhm.
Put them in different leadership opportunities to help them with that purpose. Um, Mindfulness, right? Teaching them to be mindful, decision making, optimizing their decisions. And how are we going to do that again? By focusing on the digestive health and detoxification, stress, sleep, social, and spiritual health. What are those pieces? Is making sure they're grateful every morning, say 10 things that they're thankful for, and this is all for us too. We remember we have to role model these. Making sure they're incorporating some sort of stress management technique, they're prioritizing their sleep, they're being mindful of the company that they keep, right? And then if somebody's really dragging them down or lifting them up, like what is that? I mean, you're worth somebody to really stay around. There's enough people on the planet. Find somebody that's going to lift you up and stick with them. Um, and then and then your detoxification. Are there specific detox pathways? Like my kids love taking Epsom salt baths, and or even like exercise to sweat. And then we have like this vibration plate too. So anything that'll help them lymphatics move, they're making sure they're pooping, peeing, perspiring on a regular basis. And then also watching the toxins that are around them, being mindful of that. And then
Can you
the
elaborate on some of the toxins? Like if kids
yes.
are
So the toxins, for example, that they know that plastics, right, with the BPH and the phthalates and all that, all of their for all the artificial soaps
mm,
and the shampoos, things that they're constantly being exposed to, even the cleaning products.
mm,
So I tell them, okay, these cleaning products, do you want to use this one or this one that says organic on it? And then basically you can eat it and it's fine. Because I've taught them that whatever you put on your skin, it goes in, right? It just to go straight into your body.
mhm,
So even those, and start with their bedrooms.
yeah.
Um, for me, it was like making sure that they had an air filter in their room. We have the spider plants in their room for to keep their environment detoxed, their air detoxed. Then it was what is like they're in their bed, the kids are in their bed 13 hours a day. Like, right, like they're supposed to be sleeping at least minimums, like depending on my 13 likes to sleep 13, but like the 10 hours minimum, like 10 hours, maximum 10 hours are sleeping. So we have like organic sheets.
Mhm,
And they know that like is direct connection to their skin. So that's what we do. So like even again, all of these aspects when they're brushing their teeth, making sure that that's non-toxic. What they're shampooing, making sure that's non-toxic. What they're eating in, like we don't take plastic or we don't store stuff in plastic. We have them all in glass jars, and they know the effects of, all of these, xenoestrogens. They know what those are. So these are conversations we talk about on a regular basis,
yeah.
right? So then and then we make sure we drink filtered water. So the kids are like, "Oh, is this reverse osmosis?" Because again, they want to.
All these yeah.
Yeah, so even that they like try to really hone in on,
Mhm,
to making sure again at least their food is as clean as possible, their air and their environment and their water.
mhm,
So those are the main pieces. And then their digestive health.
mhm,
They're because 70 to 80% of their immune system lies in the gut. And I've taught them, and again, just like I don't know what they teach in biology, and the kids learn the most complex things. Like, to tell you the truth, how many of us actually remember how to do long division? None of us. Like, I mean, well, like, okay, fine. When are we actually ever going to use long division?
yeah, yeah, mhm,
Right? We're like, okay, I'll make it maybe a little bit, yeah. But the thing is, like, we don't really use it, or there's certain things that, I
mm,
mean, that we don't use now. We have calculators, we have all these things, but the kids are really learning these really complex things, but they're not really learning how to live.
mhm, mhm,
And so, teaching them about the gut health. And we're like, oh no, that's too complex. Teaching them to read ingredients, that's too complex. Yeah, but all the stuff they're learning in school is not complex. That's really complex. Like I mean, most people maybe can do, but I can't do any of that stuff anymore. Like it's too complicated.
yeah,
But the thing is, so if they can learn that complex stuff, they can totally learn to read labels and to know what that is and to know that how that food actually what the gut microbiome is. That 70 to 80% of your immune system lies in the gut, and we have 100 trillion gut bacteria, and these are bacteria responsible for your genes and your metabolism, and they make 90% of your serotonin and 50% of your dopamine, and that's all for if you feel good hormones, and you need it to be happy, and you need your gut bugs to be happy if you want to be happy and healthy. So therefore, we had to feed these pets in our belly, our friends in our belly, good things and not the chemicals, because if we feed it the chemicals, then it's going to destroy and we're not going to feel so great. So, so those are really the key pieces. And then focusing on like when you eat, making sure that you focus on tons of vegetables, clean protein, and healthy fats. So my kids have learned to like go down the list every time they eat.
mm,
Vegetable, clean protein, healthy fat. And it's now it's like so so common in our house. It's like, Mom, I had my vegetable, my clean protein, my healthy fat. Can I have a fruit carbohydrate? I was like, why are you asking me for fruit? Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, that another big piece of this puzzle is that I stock up for success.
Mm,
The
mm,
house is stocked with everything they can eat. The pantry is stocked with everything they can eat. The refrigerator, the fridge, everything they can eat. And so it's not like, no, you can't have this. Cause I feel like there's a lot of them struggle with parents. It's like our moms and dads. It's like, no, you don't have this first. And I mean, this food is so that it's made to be addictive. And
mm,
then we're like fighting in the house. And then now the kids hate the good food because it's always caused a fight.
yeah.
Right. So they puts like a negative connotation on this because we've kept this good food, but like, Mom, why do you have this food? So in my house, it's like those foods are not even foods.
Mm,
It's because they read the ingredients at the beginning. They saw that these foods were not even foods. They're like, it's so funny. You should see, like, we did like a gingerbread house at school with the kids. And then my 10-year-old was like, he's like, what is this disgusting thing in this? Like, what is this? Like, throw this away. Why is this even in our house? Like, he's like, this is a chemical. Why is this chemical in our house? And he goes, I don't want to see, this is just artificial. Like, it's gross. It's making everybody sick. Why would you even like to give it it doesn't even deserve to be in this house. It's dry. Like, he's like, that's what he was like. This doesn't deserve to be in this house. It's making everybody sick. It's like destroying the planet. It doesn't deserve to be in this house. I'm like, okay, we're good. Throw it away. Looks like your brother made the gingerbread house. Let him play with it. Like,
You're like,
no.
you just look at it. It's making him sick looking at it.
Mom, like, how dare that it's gonna contaminate our air. Like, I was like, it's okay. So, but the thing is, because of the fact that they read the ingredients, they were educated, they were empowered, they knew to make these decisions completely on their own. And then if they do like make a decision, like, oh, well, I'm gonna try this, like, okay, but they're mindful of how then it affects their body. Right. And these all these pieces, the reason I went through them was because of the fact that if this is all key pieces of a healthy lifestyle. And when we can optimize our overall health and wellness through these different aspects, digestive health, detoxification, stress, sleep, social, and spiritual health, we can optimize their brain function because the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala work better together when your life is balanced. So when you live a balanced lifestyle, when your children live a balanced lifestyle, guess what? Their brains will be functioning appropriately. They're not moody.
Yeah.
They're exactly, it's like it's amazing that they're able to make those logical decisions. They're kind, and obviously their amygdalas are still developing, so they're going to have those little tantrums here and there. But overall, a healthy child, one that is able to live this healthier lifestyle, when they live a balanced life, they have balanced brains. They're able to control their emotions, have self-understanding, be mindful, empathetic. They make sound decisions. They're flexible and adaptive. They're energized. They manage their anger. They're compassionate. They consider the consequences. They're able to monitor their actions of the lower brain, like, oh, that's, like, I'm gonna fight and flight. Am I doing that or not? They're able to experience that deep sense of calm. They have the will and the motivation to follow their dreams. And that is what our goal is as a parent, right? But the
Really.
thing is, again, we have to start to live that ourselves. And so those are the different pieces. And the final piece to raise healthy leaders. So we talked about being a role model, educating and empowering them, mindfulness, decision making, optimizing their decision making, and then gratitude. So 5 steps. Gratitude is raising a child that is grateful, is going to be the biggest blessing on the planet. Why? Because the fact that their brains right now, the world around us is teaching us that you're not happy until you get the next best thing,
Mhm.
right? Oh, you're not with, like, you don't have the next best iPhone. Oh, you're going to be missing out. But unfortunately, that's their sales tactic, right?
I live in
So
Silicon Valley, so
Yeah, the sales,
Yeah.
the sales tactic, um, the sales tactics are enough to like make you feel miserable about yourself. That's how you get you to buy the next best thing, right? Where no one's gonna buy aging cream if no one's worrying about aging. Like, oh my God, my wrinkles. Oh my God, no, what am I gonna look like? Or the next iPhone. If you're content with the iPhone that you have, no one's gonna like, I'm gonna buy the next one. I mean, there's only like a little tweak difference, right? um, but so that's why they make you feel left out. And so same with social media. And then so when kids wake up with a negativity, they go to sleep with negativity. And especially I know in the Indian Pakistani culture and a lot of the other cultures, it's like the way the parent um shows their love to the child is by telling them what they're doing wrong.
Mhm.
Right? You're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. Let me tell you how to do this. Don't, no, 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 you're doing this wrong. Like, so that's our showing our love, unfortunately. And then the other piece is that, they go to school and get the same kind of criticism. So they're living in a world of constant negativity. And so immediately we have to actually try to train their subconscious from instead of thinking negative all the time to thinking positive. And the way that we're going to do that is one again example. All these things I told you was real role modeling it yourself, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So being grateful, being thankful yourself as a mom. Um, for me, that has like made the world a difference. And that's where I'm then able to then, you know, have that like bring that to the children. And we sing our thankful songs in the morning. And immediately when you wake up in the morning, say 10 things they're thankful for so you can change your subconscious from instead of thinking negative to positive. And then when you have a child that is positive and grateful, you know how much they're complaining? A lot less,
Yeah.
right? They're not whiny. They're not frustrated. They're so grateful. They're even when and resilient for no matter what life throws at them. Yes, it's tough. And we're gonna feel the feelings, but not be stuck in that negative story,
Mhm.
right? To like, oh, but like but they've been already instructed to immediately think, oh, positive,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, you know what? I understand that was terrible, but what did I learn from that? Or like, it's like looking at the positive end of it. And so again, that also comes with food. Instead of it's like all these are all the things I can't eat, or is it these are all the things I can eat,
Yeah.
right? And again, so all of these different pieces, the role modeling, educating, empowering, mindfulness, optimizing decision making, and gratitude are things that we can start as moms for ourselves. And then that can then reciprocate that to the children. And like, revert like osmosis, I
Yeah.
could goes into them, goes into them. Um, and it really makes such a world of difference because now you have empowered children.
Mhm.
Because remember, if we don't teach our children and ourselves to use the brain that they've been given to make the decisions for themselves, to be educated and empowered and make a logical, rational decisions once they've given all the autonomy, somebody else is going to do it for them. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation. So either you can brainwash them one way or they're going to be brainwashed another way.
And if we don't have them or get the opportunities to do it while they're younger, right?
Oh,
How do we expect
absolutely.
them to make good decisions, especially when the stakes are higher
The
and
mistakes are higher. And then on top of that, there's so much more peer pressure,
Mhm.
right? When they go to college, when they do all these things, it's like, okay, mom's not here anymore. So what are we going to do? But the thing is, when you've given them, all of the free will when they were with you already, but educating them, role modeling that behavior, obviously they're going to slip.
Mhm.
Um, we all do. We're
Mhm.
not perfect. And to teach our kids, it's okay. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And we're not meant to be perfect.
Yeah.
If we were perfect, we would be God. We're not God.
Yeah.
So, But these are the things that, so you will slip, but the thing is, you have all the tools now at your resource. You've had the education, you have the tools. What are you going to do about it? And that decision is in your hands.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we could talk forever because I
Yeah.
love this like all these things, and each thing I feel like is a whole talk on its own, right? And but we obviously can't be here forever. And
I don't mind. You have time. I'm kidding. No.
let's do this
I
again.
hear
That's what
actually,
we're gonna
I'm in the
do.
basement. I'm like, I know I'm here by myself with the kids and they're vacuuming upstairs.
Oh, I
I'm,
love
I'm like, I can be here. I have my 13-year-old,
I love it. Well, so I
11.
have a whole different conversation with someone else about, like mornings and how like my kids just do their own thing and I can do my thing and we're all
I
good. But
still, and giving them those chores and responsibilities in the morning time. And even dinner, we just had dinner. We just opened our fast. The kids, when they hit puberty, they're supposed to fast. So like what, 13, right? So my 13-year-old is fasting and and the calm and the patience and they're able to do all of that because the fact that we've, given them all the tools that they've need and to understand um and to be like, so we just fasted and then we just opened our fast and then we had this interview. And so I'm like, can you guys help me get the kitchen? And again, it's just like with the morning time, they help me with the kitchen. And then for dinner time too, I'm like, I'm cooking the food, right? Unless you guys totally want to cook all the food that for all these people, they help me a little bit, but they use, I'm like, can you help me with the cleanup for sure? So,
and the
so yeah,
confidence
giving
that
them
they
the,
get from being entrusted with that and then being able to do it,
yes,
it's just
it's
a cycle.
huge.
Yeah.
Because if we like are looking over their shoulder, and the thing is, if they're just if we are trying to fix every little thing for them, it's like they do it, and then we're like, no, 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 you should have done this way. They're gonna be like, fine, you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to like give up that like perfectionism. It's not gonna be perfect, but guess what? Mine's not perfect for my mother-in-law. But what I'm trying to say is that like we learn, right? You learn, you give them the self-confidence that I've been entrusted. One, I feel I'm entrusted with this. I'm a value to this family, right? I have purpose. Like I am a really integral part of this family structure. Like mom can't, and I tell them, I'm like, I cannot do this by myself. I need a team. We are a team together, right? And so when we're a team, we work together. And if I'm like, mama doesn't really like to be in the kitchen. Do you like to be in the kitchen? Like I don't love to do the dishes and the laundry and cleaning up after everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm like, mama doesn't like to do that. Do you? They're like, no. They're like, "Well, why don't we work together? If like all
Yeah.
7 of us get into the kitchen, guess how fast the kitchen's gonna get done,
Yeah.
right? And so again, giving them the help them solidify the baseline and then go from there,
Yeah.
and giving them those responsibilities. And right now, my 8-year-old is supposed to write the introduction of their book, right? And so he had so much like they entrusted me with that.
Oh, I love
So giving them again, giving these leadership qualities, helping them go to like doing volunteer work, that they're valued, that they're needed,
yeah.
and they have purpose. So it is amazing. It is so much fun to see that like play out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you speak to my heart so truly. So there is a ton that we talked about, and we always like to end by giving our mamas something simple or quick to be able to do today. So, do you have a challenge for our mamas to complete?
Immediately when you wake up in the morning, say 10 things that you're thankful for. Because your perspective can either be your pain or your power. Our lives are really difficult. We as moms, uh, we're we are really, wearing like 100 different hats all at once, right? And I feel like there's and again the mom guilt is real.
Mhm.
Like, no
Preach.
matter
Yeah.
how much, right? The mom guilt is real. Either you work or you don't work. I mean, sometimes we put it on ourselves. It's like, oh, I want to work. Like, but the thing is, like, then I'm like, oh, but I want to be with my kid. And when you're with your kid, you're like, oh, like,
It's true,
it's like,
true.
let's just be honest and real, right?
Mhm.
They're beautiful, but then you're like, oh, and then like there's other, like, it's just like we never feel, sometimes it's very difficult because either it's from other moms that are like, oh, you're not putting your kids in like 10 different sports, or
Yeah.
I was like, no, no, they have like two, that's it. Um, but like there's so many things that we probably are not doing, you know,
Mhm.
but focus on what we are doing, because when we are present and positive and just there and show unconditional love, that in and of itself can open doors to your physical, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual health that will help you be the best parent to your child. And on top of that, the best, spouse, the best person, the best daughter, the best, that self-love is, and that self-care that you give to yourself, starting with gratitude, is so powerful. And we all know that, you know, I mean, the kids are sponges. So if my mood is off, they will hear it and they will feel it, and the baby will start crying more, and then the kids will be whiny, and then it just like, it just like vibrates through the house.
Yeah,
It ripple effects to the house.
absolutely.
So if we can really fill your own cup first, no matter how that is, but then start with gratitude today. 10 things that you're thankful for every morning. Start with that. That's how you fill your cup. Because they're like, oh no, what are you talking about? I'm not sleeping. I poop on me, I pee on me. Like the kids, I mean, like you turn around and then, I mean, I know mine loves to like make little swimming pools in the sink. Or like outside the shower, like there'll be a trail going. And I was like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it can get chaotic. But the
Mhm.
thing is, the 10 things that you can say every morning of the things that we're grateful for,
Mhm.
and focus on that. Because these years are fast, even those tiny imprints that, you know, like, and the toys that are scattered, no one's ever going to say, I grew up because I'm a terrible human being because my house was not clean. No one ever will ever say that. Right? Have you ever heard any criminal say, I was a mess, I was totally messed up because of the fact that my house was not clean? No, let that go.
Mhm.
Prioritize the things that really matter in life. And yes, the cleanliness is important. We just talked about the importance of that. I make sure my kids. But again, your mental health is really important.
Mhm.
And so that love and the connection is what really matters in raising these children. Because remember that every touch, every hug, every connection that we make is helping to build these neural connections in our children's brains that will build a brain either for the better or for the worse.
Mhm.
So focus on that, and prioritize all the things that you can do for your children, right? And if it's too stressful, let it go. You know
Mhm.
what? Stress also leads to 80% of the complaints that come to primary care physicians, at least a sickness. But that the best way to do that is focus on the positive, not the negative.
Oh, I remember hearing somewhere, change your I have tos to I get tos. And
Yeah.
that just completely shifts your perspective,
It
and that
does. It like, because if you like, I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm like, that's craziness. We already have so much on our plate.
Mhm.
But then it's like, I get to do that. Oh, thank God. You're right. It's like a huge blessing. A lot of people don't get to clean poop off the walls. We get. Love
It's true. There
Oh,
are
we
people out there that would love to, and
love to. Or like, obviously you have a 10 year, older kids, and so I have like older and younger. But again, it's like,
Mhm.
the things that we get to do,
Mhm.
we're blessed.
Yeah.
But it all starts with taking care of ourselves, being positive and thankful for all of the blessings that the universe has given us.
Yeah. I love that. I know you also have a fantastic freebie for everyone to check out. Can you share what that is and how people can connect with you further?
Absolutely. So the kids have a cookbook. So their desserts, remember the fun stuff, the fun food? We've come up with all the fun food and they put it into this cookbook. So it's like a cookbook that we can use for our families that are easy recipes because in my house, again, the fun food, when we celebrate cakes and cookies and when we have birthday parties at home, I'm making the cakes.
Mhm.
But it's really easy and more cost effective. I make like an almond flour cake
Mhm.
and then use organic frosting and then we'll use organic coloring, like different colors with turmeric, or I'll just use, turmeric and spirulina and beet powder and mix that together. That's what I did for my 1-year-old's you know, Daniel Tiger birthday.
So cute.
I made so much fun. So much fun. So you can have a lot of fun and do that with your kids. But these recipes really came from, again, wanting to make the fun food healthy. And I compiled all the recipes. So even when I have like 100 people over, I don't, you know, we stick with this real healthy food because a little bit goes a long way. So it's not like people are going to eat like chunks and chunks and chunks and throw it away. They're like, eat, like because it's made out of almond flour and they have tiger nut flour, cassava flour cookies, things like that. All of these desserts that are healing desserts
Mhm.
um, that are all in one source that work in my family and parties. So it's like they're fan favorites, and that's all in this little cookbook that the kids put together. And they can connect with me further. I'm on Instagram. I share what I do. Like I on my stories, I sort of do I'll add what's going on in my daily life, what I'm cooking, how I'm doing it, just so I can inspire others because I'm still a work in progress too.
Mhm.
But at least what I've learned, I can share with others.
Mhm.
And how I'm able to exercise and meditate and use the sauna. What am I doing? So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Holistic Mom MD, Holistic Urdu MD for the Urdu audience. But the Holistic Kids Show, my kids have a podcast. I think they're going on now 140 episodes.
That's so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were going on their in June. It'll be 4 years that they've been doing it.
Uh-huh.
I know, so
It's been
exciting.
that long since the pandemic. Oh my gosh.
Right? Like 2020, and I was like, oh my God. So they
Yeah.
started like June 2020. So it's
Yeah.
been a long time, but they now love it and so please check us on iTunes and download it because starting this movement of our kids empowering other kids is needed now more than ever. With the rates of chronic disease on the rise and um, our kids need this help and they're crying out for help.
Mhm.
And so if they can see, you know what, these kids are doing it, and obviously, nobody really wants kids to be healthy because they're the ones that are going to drive
In the future.
consumers. Exactly. But the thing is, this is where we need this now more than ever. So if kids are doing this, they can be other kids can be empowered. And then talking to these experts, these world-renowned experts.
Mhm.
So it's been New York Times bestsellers and actors and actresses and journalists, it's so much fun. So
That's
much.
amazing. No, we also started a YouTube channel in the pandemic, and it's been a fun ride. And this is us sharing, like, I'm Japanese and my kids are half Japanese. And so it's, kind of this, well, how do we, as busy parents, build in this healthy kind of side of us and share culture with them and all of that. And so it's been a fun journey and seeing their confidence build in that too as they're in it and they go back and look at themselves like, oh, look, I used to be able to cook this thing. I can do that on my own now or whatever it is.
Yes, it is. I'm telling you, it's like a huge confidence. And then, kids are going to be using social media anyway,
Yeah.
right? They're going to be on social media. That's like this new world that we're in. So why not use it for their benefit and show what good can come out of it? So it
Absolutely.
is, and it's really gives them that self like, oh wow, like confidence. Like I could do that. Look what I did then, and I can do this by myself now. And it is, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
So
It becomes this fun
so
thing to
much.
do as a family. So it was just a great gift that we started spontaneously in a really hard time, right?
That's what I did too. And if oh, I know. And you probably look back and are like, yes.
Yeah.
And then now
But
you have
we're
all
gonna
these
have to
kids
go
that
make
make
some of these recipes and yeah, share.
yes, that would be so much fun. So
Yeah.
much fun. I know we got to get your kids and my kids together and we can
Oh, that'd be so fun. Oh man. That'll be a future. I'm gonna come in your inbox again.
that would be awesome.
So anything else you want to leave our mamas with before we wrap up?
You know what? It's a crazy world out there. And there's so many people that want to take charge of our children's brains.
Mhm.
And especially like the younger time, to really teach our children your morals and your ethics is important. And instill those with that connection, with that love, with the story time, like all of those things you can do to teach them your morals by like, and taking care of your bodies.
Mhm.
Um, because when you role model this behavior, your children are more resilient and it gives you less stress because I mean, my kids now understand like the importance of they're like not freaked out, but they're like, why would I put red number 40 in my mouth?
Mhm. Mhm.
What's the chance that they're going to do drugs? A little bit less. Because if they're freaked out with the red number 40,
Yeah.
but what I'm trying to say is that, but that all starts with that connection and
Mhm.
that morals and ethics and what really matters in your household. And to stay true to that and to empower your children and yourself to be, out of the box thinkers.
Mhm.
Question the status quo. We actually have a conference coming up called, the Change Making Kids Conference
Oh, uh-huh.
in June of 2020, well, this year, 2024. But again, we do have the power. And whatever we teach our kids, that will then have a ripple effect to heal the world from the inside and out.
Something is stinging my eyes.
Oh no.
But yeah, there's so much that we can gift our kids and equip them with.
So much we can do to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And to create this change because the kids, we need this change now more than ever.
Mhm.
And we as moms can be that ripple effect and create that ripple effect first within our children and then just see the miracles unfold when we give our children and ourselves and the peace that comes in your house when everybody's body is working the way that it should, when everybody's brain is working the way that it should. I even did this with my husband. Before this, we would argue all the time. And I changed his diet and his lifestyle, and we had baby number 5. So, like, I'm telling you, it's like peace. Like when everybody's brains and bodies work. And I know as moms, it's like, Doctor, I'm saying what you're saying is too complicated. It's exhausting. I'm a working mom. I'm doing all these things. But I'm telling you, if you don't have to deal with kids that are fighting all the time,
Mhm.
when you're not constantly arguing with your husband, when you're not fighting with your in-laws, there's peace in the house. And that peace comes with, yes, there's a little sacrifice that you'll have to do at the beginning. It's going to be difficult to educate and empower, to clean the pantry, to start to slowly get everybody on board. Slowly, it takes time, maybe even years,
Mhm.
right? But the outcome of kids and everybody being more mindful of the things that they're putting in their body, their emotions,
Mhm.
in the long run, it will decrease your stress exponentially. So, you guys got this. If I can do this, you guys can too.
I've got some stuff to go toss from the pantry.
No. So find the replacements for those
Yeah.
first, right? So
Yeah.
my kids get like Oreos, but then they get like the healthy Oreos, like by
Uh-huh.
Simple Mills, like things like that. or like they get the chips, but they get different ones. So again, don't toss them yet, right? Have the kids read them, have them taste, swap out the good stuff for the bad stuff,
Yeah,
and then they'll never miss it.
I love that.
Mm.
Thank you, Madiha, for all of the fun knowledge and just sharing your family's journey and inspiring us to do the same. To just,
Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. This has been so incredibly honor, like a huge, huge, huge honor for allowing me to join you on this journey.
oh, it is so great to have you. And as always, mamas, drop your questions in the Facebook group because we want to get your questions answered. I'm sure you have tons of questions. And so go in there. We will be checking it. We will get your questions answered. And tell us how your challenge went, how your gratitude challenge went, because we want to know how that just uplifted you, because we do think that'll be a change that you can see pretty quickly. So thank you for being here and come back for more amazing summit speakers.